Hey guys, what's up? This is Husnain, founder at AQSEC, and today we have one of the most important podcasts that is a one of five, where we have a prestigious guest from the international community. Also, he is a founder of one of the biggest companies of cybersecurity in Pakistan, the big man, the big name, Mr. Farhan. Most welcome, sir.
Thank you so much,
I
Hassan, for
hope that you're
inviting me.
doing well. We would like to know about your concise introduction as well as your whole journey from university to the company. So please initiate.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Hasnan, for inviting me on this podcast today. And as you mentioned, so my name is Farhan Mirza. I am the CEO and founder of Catalytic Group. Within the group, so I started this journey almost now about 20 years back. So did a job. So once I graduated, I did my master's in business administration. So after that, I did job for a couple of years. I worked in a bank, then I worked in an international consulting firm, and later on, then I decided to start on my entrepreneurship journey, and started off a consulting company. So the first company that I formed was Catalyic Consulting. So Catalytic Consulting ultimately became a niche company, niche consulting company. We started off and we figured out that although there were consulting companies, but there was a huge gap at that time in Pakistan. And I'm talking about way back, about almost about 2 decades back, I'm talking about.
Right.
So either they were top-notch, or very few multinational types, McKinsey's and Archer's type of company. Locally, the talent was not very much there. And then if there was there, so they were very, very kind of I would say, low-end companies, I would say. So we figured out that there is a huge demand for the gap for that, which we wanted to capitalize. So we started off as a consulting company, but we were very clear when we started off, and we thought that rather than be a jack of all trade, so we wanted to be a specialized company.
Right.
And you would remember talking about that time. So IT was growing up in Pakistan, and the 2000.com kind of
Yeah.
what was going on.
Exactly.
So IT was already becoming a big thing. So we figured out that and realized that IT is going to be the next big thing. So we kind of invested our time and energies into that. So rather than be a consulting company that is working on all sorts of problems and issues, so our strong muscle became the IT thing. So we figured out that what would the IT industry be needing, and what are the things that the US IT industry or the Indian IT industry or the Chinese IT industry is already adopting, but it is not there in Pakistan.
Right.
So that became kind of a pivotal point for Catholic Consulting. And I would here mention a particular standard called CMMI,
Yeah.
which to till date is also considered one of the gold standards for software development.
Exactly.
So it's a standard which is developed by United States Department of Defense and Carnegie Mellon University. So that was a time when that was becoming very important. And good thing at that time was that the government of Pakistan also realized that in order to boost Pakistan's IT export, they need to basically invest into this standard.
Yeah.
So how things happened and shaped up was that via Pakistan Software Export Board, so they started a program in which they thought that they started doing a study that how can Pakistan, boost its IT export. And one of the common point of the study came in, or one of the top point of the study came out, that Pakistani IT companies should go for the international standards, and CMMI is like one of them.
Yeah.
It's not that the Pakistani IT industry at that time was not following the standards. There were other standards, especially from the ISO's family, predominantly I would say ISO 9000. But yeah, they were there, but then the industry at that time was demanding a specialized standard, because CMMI is a very specialized standard. It covers the entire SDLC of the software cycle, starting from requirements to the end delivery. It covers all of it. So the problem at that time was that getting CMMI was really very expensive. And because we had no local resources, there were no trained consultants in Pakistan.
Right.
There were no trained auditors or approved auditors, I would say, in Pakistan. So we had to basically rely on all the foreign expertise at that time, which, as you very naturally can understand, it just increases the cost of the project many folds. So I think the government did a very nice step at that time, and they started a program in which they said that we will do some funding, and they wanted to basically develop a program in which Pakistani people can become the auditors for CMMI.
Right.
So kind of an open application or an invitation process was done. Many people applied for that, and then ultimately 10 people were selected, and I happened to be one of those 10.
Well.
Other than me, most of the people selected for that program were from academia.
Okay.
from all the top-notch universities, including LUMS, IBA, and some of the other universities. So the faculty, the CS faculty from there, they applied for that and they got selected. And few people from the private sector like me also got selected as the top 10 in that program. But again, then there was no further training that was available at that time in Pakistan. So we had to travel, and I ultimately, out of those 10, I was the only odd person that qualified all the courses and
Wow.
get through that. So I went to US, attended some course there, did my exam, then went to Germany, did my exam course. So by the grace of God, I was the first. I became the first Pakistani CMMI auditor. So
Well.
that was a great achievement, not only for me but for as a country as
Mhm.
well, and that really opened up a lot of gates for Pakistan, because now Pakistan had its own auditor.
Mm.
So that, and then after that, what happened was the number of companies from CMI, which was zero at that time, then the PSCB basically initiated a program in which they said that they are going to be partially sponsoring the companies who want to go for this journey. So the process started off basically from there. In the first phase, of course, the top-notch companies like the NetSouls and Xavier
System.
and their systems, CalSoft. So at those times, these were the top 5 companies there. So they came for that. So, and CMMI has different maturity levels, so 5 being the highest and 2 being the lowest kind of a thing. So we started on that journey. But then that kind of, it triggered the cycle.
Right.
So first I remember there were 5 companies program came in there. So we did a lot of work with them. It was for the first time CMI was happening in Pakistan. So we were still using as basically, and that was the time actually when I thought that, that's a good time when I should start my own journey as well. So that is my thing, that when we kind of became Catalyic Consulting, I left my job and started my own shop. And basically Catalyic Consulting really became big into that part as well. It still is carrying on. Now, even in Pakistan, we have more than 30 companies that ultimately went for CMI in different phases in the last these years.
Right.
At one point in time, I was traveling a lot. Then we started looking at international markets. So at one point in time, I was rated by a few websites as one of the top most experienced CMI appraisal in the world.
Wow.
So under my belt, I've done now, if I give you a number, more than 150 of CMI appraisals.
Oh.
And not, of course, out of this 150, only about 30 were from Pakistan. Other than that, so we were doing a lot of appraisals in USA, in China, in Middle East, Europe, Malaysia. So that's basically it.
It's a worldwide.
So it was worldwide. It still is worldwide, and we are doing all those this thing. So that was like relating it back to it. So that's how Catalyic Consulting basically was formed, and Catalyic Consulting grew up out of that.
That's great.
So the Catalyic Consulting was my only company at that time, and it still is there. But what happened was that as we keep on growing, and I have a philosophy and a belief as an entrepreneur that sometimes you plan things and then you go on different journeys, and
Yeah.
then what happens is that as you are going through the journey, you then determine that what is your sweet spot, and to determine that sweet spot, there are multiple factors into that thing. Sometimes you determine what is your strong predominant muscle, sometimes the timings, and sometimes the overall environment, changing environment happening. So that dictates that thing.
Right.
So while we were working with IT companies worldwide, so we figured out, and we became more in line and closely in touch with the IT companies. So at Catalyic Consulting, our philosophy was very simple. We always wanted to basically see what is ahead of the curve for the IT companies. What would IT companies be needing, not only in Pakistan, but internationally? So we tried to basically study those things, that what is happening around the world, what is going to be the next big thing. Rather than cashing on the wave that has already
Exactly.
been big,
Yeah.
we try to figure out that what is the next big thing.
Yeah.
So CMMI was one of that thing. So we caught CMMI wave when it was really growing up at that time. We still are carrying on with that thing.
It's like 2015.
Yeah. Even earlier than that, actually. It's no, not 2015. It's much earlier than that, actually, also. Yeah. So I think it was 2008 or 9, something like I'm talking about. So we were very early
Wow.
of that time. So as I said, that there was no company certified for CMMI in Pakistan. From that number, making about 35 companies in Pakistan. All the top-notch IT companies in Pakistan that you can consider are our customers for CMMI at least. So, and then not only in Pakistan, taking it outside Pakistan, as I said, globally we were working, so we were doing that thing. Then, about 10 years back, I figured out we were discussing it internally in the team meetings that although we are doing consulting, and then I said that we figured out the next big wave is going to be security.
Right.
So the development and everything was there, the standards were there, so we were helping and working with the companies in that thing. But then we thought that security is going to be the next big thing. We were not the pioneers, to be honest, in security. So when we started security thing, there were few companies in Pakistan, but there were few. Not many, there were few. So they say were there were few companies without naming any of them, but there were few companies. But we thought and we figured out that it's going to take more than few companies to actually cater to the market. The market size is going to be becoming big. But since I have always worked in those areas which are untested grounds, so at that time I remember when we went to any client or when we had to give any lecture or any presentation, so we could not even find a single case study in Pakistan.
Right.
So we had to rely on all the case studies of what happened in West, what happened in US, what happened in an XYZ bank or something like that.
Right.
But we kept on working on that thing because we had a belief that security is going to become a big thing.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, slowly, gradually, people started realizing this thing. And we also thought that rather than doing security under the ambit of Catalytic Consulting, we actually wanted to give it a full-fledged focus and everything. So that is when we formed another vertical within the group, which is called Catalytic Security.
Right.
So Catalytic Security is basically a vertical within the Catalytic Group, but it focuses hardcore on the security things. So there is a little overlap now, which we can talk about as we go on in the consulting and the security part of it, because there are standards coming up that already have been there for security. But so in Catalytic Consulting, we do basically deal at the advisory and the governance part of it, where if there is a NIST standard or a PCI standard or a ISO 27000 or a SOC standard, so these are all security-related standards in Pakistan. If I talk about US, so there are other security standards, FedRAMP, CMMC. So these are HIPAA, high trust. So these are US specific regulations or standards which are there. Then when I talk about Saudi Arab, so there are other things, SAMA, PDPL, NCA. So there are a lot of compliance and regulations in the Gulf market as well. So these compliance related security matters, we still deal under Catalytic Consulting.
Right.
But when it comes to the hardcore security areas like vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, malware analysis, DFIR, red teaming, purple teaming, managed security services. So these are some of the verticals that we thought that the companies actually now we figure out need both of these things. They need a compliance structure level of there as well, which gives them what to do things, how to do things kind of a thing, a governance framework, or a governance layering around that. But then they, of course, need those tools, solutions, products, as we talked about, to testing, security testing, IT audits. So keeping in mind in that thing, we created another vertical with the name of Catalytic Security, which focuses on that thing. Shukriya. So Catalytic Security ultimately started growing up in that thing. So security is a very tricky business, by the way. And then as a security person, it's just like keeping a security guard for your house or something. So you have to basically, so security is built on trust. So security, if I talk about security, so there are two main words that I would say. One is trust and the other one is fear. So security, either people go for security out of fear, that they have a fear that if they don't go for that, something will happen. Whether it's a personal psychology thing, which reflects into the corporate psychology as well. So the fear is based on this thing. And then the most important part is the trust thing. People can only trust a company or a person for their security if they trust that brand. So the trust is the most important thing. And that is what we tried to build up over these years as well. So as I said, as a company, we are about 2 decades old company. We have done a lot of business globally within every location as well. So we try to capitalize on that. And when it comes to security as well, so we try to bring in the highest level of standards for that. It starts from hiring the people. Then there were not many security professionals 10 years back in Pakistan even as well. So my partner, my CTO basically, so we did kind of a thing and we still focus very much on that. So we always have a program in the company in which there are 2 streams running in the company as well from an HR point of view. So one is, of course, whatever talent that is available and we try to get the best talent working with us. And then we try to develop and nurture our own talent as well.
Right.
So we always encourage people at the early stages when they have done their CS program to come and work with us. And we have a I can very proudly say that any new resource that has spent 2 years in our company after getting his university degree, so he is a very different person after those 2 years.
Person in
yeah, because we focus a lot on that. We encourage our resources to get a lot of, we make them, take the trainings. Then we always try to, in trainings, all types of training, softer skills, hardcore security related, management related, whatever is happening. So we are doing some work in England. So whether it's related to CREST, whether it's related to AI security things, whether it's related to the compliance security things. The type of exposure that they get. So we are very lucky in that way that we are working with such a large variety of customers.
Right, exactly.
Which in itself is a big learning platform for the resources that we basically are working with Catalyic. So working with the highest level of defense organizations to a very small startup company, we have private limited, public limited, hospitals, banks, telcos, IT companies, service companies, insurance companies. So right now also our customer base spans over all these areas.
Right.
And each sector basically brings its own thing. So anyways, linking it back to it, so I talked about Catalyic Consulting. I've told you about how Catalyic Security formed.
Exactly.
And then we have another small vertical, which is the technology part of it. So what we thought that ultimately, and that's relatively a newer vertical of the Catalyic Group. So we thought that while we are doing these services, and then in another thing, we, in our own wisdom, figured out that again the world is changing, and especially which we're talking about is maybe in the AI, after coming AI's evolution thing. So manual work is going down and automated work is coming up.
Yeah.
So that basically creates an opportunity where you need to have products and tools as well.
Exactly.
So maybe what type of consulting or what type of assignments we were doing 20 years back, so that approach is not going to be there at least after 5 years. That's how I see it.
Right.
So you have to change with the time. So as a part of the change, we thought that, and then we consider ourselves a small kind of a subject matter expert on security and consulting. So we created another vertical with the name of Catalytic Technology. So Catalytic Technology is a software division within the company. So we are not very keen in doing software services for customers, but rather than that, this division is basically working to create some of our own products. We already have created some of our own products, which are OSINT related products, which are cyber range type of a product, which is a SOC SIEM solution type of a product.
Right.
And we are working on a lot of other products as well. So predominantly our products are going to be, again, centered around what we think that we can do best,
right,
which is consulting and security. So figuring out the market need, this division is basically creating our own tools and products which are going to be offered to different customers, which we are still. So some of them are SaaS-based, some of them are on-prem. We are coming up with the cloud versions of that. So this completes basically the structure of Catalytic Group.
Right.
So in order just to summarize, so Catalytic Group, which basically has 3 verticals: Catalyic Security, Catalyic Consulting, and Catalyic Technology.
I think there was media as well.
It used to be. So me and one of my partner, we have done a lot of good businesses. Some of them have been good successes. So I'm talking about the success story. We had some failures as well. So at one point in time, me and one of my partner, we basically were doing a digital social media company as well. We did pretty good in that, but we closed it ultimately. Because again, in the social media things were digital media and everything, it was changing and evolving very much. And it required a lot of our time, which unfortunately neither myself nor my partner at that time, because we were all pursuing our own company. So I was pursuing Catalyic as well. So my partner Umair basically from Texel. So Texel was also growing pretty much. So we have another digital media company called Strategic Alliances, which we were working at that time. So that company was a good success. We had very good customers in digital media, from Zong, from a lot of other brands as well. So we were about good 50 people company. But then slowly, gradually, we decided that since our own brands were taking a lot of our time, so we couldn't do justice with this thing. So that is why we ultimately kind of came out of this business. So we closed that business now.
Right. But you mentioned you're not the jack of all trades, but you have evolved a lot of businesses. How you think you should have to be specific about cybersecurity?
Right. So actually, it's an interesting question. So yeah, because we like to remain ourselves focused and specialized. And
Yeah.
actually, if you think of it, so they are all aligned actually. So I consider them a natural extension to each other.
Okay.
So they are not east and west. They are basically all in the same direction.
Okay.
So if we go to a customer, as I said, that how the corporate world is changing. So any company nowadays basically needs some sort of a governance layer.
Yeah.
So for that, we are there. We provide him that thing. Then the same company also, since they are relying on ITs and since they need some security testing as well, so we give them that. And then that's why I said that even our products, we are not doing commercial software development.
Right.
We are just creating our product, which is again linked up only with our domain, consulting and security thing.
Right.
So we basically want to be, and which has been one of our hallmark, is that one window solution for a customer. So especially in the field of security and governance. So these are the field. And another thing is, Nan, that I figured out and I've said that the line between governance and security is becoming thinner day by day.
Exactly.
So earlier, even in our company, we still have different teams, different structures for that. But a consultant used to be a consultant and a security expert need to be a security expert. Now, as I said, that we see that the line is becoming very, very thin.
Yeah.
So that is why we are training our security resources on some of the corporate sides as well, and vice versa as well. So if you're going for any framework while we're working with, luckily for us, since we get a lot of exposure by virtue of working in different locations, so that gives us a unique position. But otherwise, we try to and focus on a specialized approach,
Right.
which we do that thing.
Right. Specifically about the current era,
Yeah.
2025, it's like a $1 trillion market of cybersecurity. And also the products are very evolving. The services industry is going down. People are laying off. Data centers are increasing in numbers. Supply chain attacks are also increasing.
Yep.
How you think like we should have to work with the security products in Pakistan and how we can empower people or the startups specifically in cybersecurity so they can build the product similar, the big companies like System or DevSync, they invested or acquired software companies as well, like the RBSoft. How you think like security companies like Catalyic, ApeBricks, Trillium, the big names, should have to work onto the products or create a system of like ecosystem about the security products so the people like us can create or work onto the products. Yeah.
Actually, things have been moving in a positive direction in that regard as well. So most of the companies, security companies, are working on some sort of a product of their own. Whether it's eBricks, whether it's Trillium, they have their own product. Whether it's Catalyic, we have a multiple of our own products, and we are investing into that thing as well. With time, of course, the products will get mature.
Right.
It's again a long debate that why Pakistani products. We have to actually forget about security. We have to look at generally from a higher perspective first, in my view, that what is the Pakistani adaptation basically ratio for the products that are locally produced. So generally, starting from the government levels first, we generally basically prefer working with the
Chinese, Europeans.
Chinese are our new favorites these days. Yeah, whether before that it's the European or the American brand, so all those things. So when it comes to security, and to start from the antivirus, the first security product that any person would get, basically the first know-how would be with an antivirus.
Yeah, exactly.
So then it comes to the firewalls, so whether it's NG firewalls now or what types of firewalls, then going up on the chain, if you're going for the SOC SIEM solutions, or you're going for a privileged access management solution, or DFIRs, or what type of thing.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, we prefer, and because they have been mature maybe at stages, so you look at what type of solutions or what type of products. So let's look at the industry from a top-down approach. So the biggest company, the first biggest customer are going to be who? Banks, telcos, ministries. They have the huge companies, huge budgets. So what are they adopting? Because the tier below them or the corporate private sector is then going to follow the suit.
Yeah.
So if they are used, because people also trickle down. So people working as a CISO maybe in one bank is going to go to another bank. So if he has worked on with one product, so he will prefer. So any CISO who prefers Fortinet, he'll go with Fortinet.
Exactly.
Any CISO who prefers Logarithm goes with Logarithm. So QRadar also. So they have their personal preference. So first of all, so there was a gap that there was not a product. Maybe I would say that in a competitive market, our own products were not of that quality. Now we have been working, and I know a lot of people who are working on their own products and everything, and I've seen them, and some of them are very good products, I would say. So the first thing is a mindset change as well, that people basically should encourage those new entrepreneurs, those locally made products as well, because a product only gets as better as, as more mature by adaptation. So if you have a product, and
Yeah.
that product is just a lab product at this moment, it has not been deployed and tested at product, so it's only good for a certain level.
Yeah, makes sense.
But if you have done 10 deployments and now you have live data and you are doing analysis on that, so now your product will ultimately get mature and become more better.
Right.
So it's a chicken and the egg problem basically. So which comes
Makes
first now?
sense.
So this is where actually I think that the top security companies, we have a role to play, because we can help in changing that mindset. And we are trying our bit as well. We are working with I cannot name, let's say, at this stage, but we have been working with defense sector. We have been working with a lot of ministries level as well. So we are trying to go for that. Even some good steps are taken by the government in Pakistan as well, with the establishment of 𝗛𝘀𝘁, the
Yeah,
national
exactly.
cert there, and then the product testing
Exactly.
that they are doing, which kind of tells the people that your
These people
product
are
is,
working,
yeah.
yeah.
So how good your product is, should they be going for that as well? So that thing. So it will take time. I think there is no shortcut to that. But product market is going to be a big market. That is, I firmly believe in that.
How you think like we have to work onto the open source projects as well, because Project Discovery is a big name right now in India, and the Ambanis are investing onto the open source industries. And in the offensive security, we have a 900 plus open source tools available. So as you mentioned, right, about the government sector, like they are adopting from the US, they are adopting from the European companies. But we think that we should have to invest on our data,
Yes.
right? And for our data, we have to develop our own tools, because open source industries are big. Even though the Linux, the internet behind the things, and all these abstract tools have been developed under the open source strategies.
Correct.
So it empowers, the introvert level security researchers who are just sitting into the front of screens and working into that. How you think like big companies should have to invest into the open source communities in Pakistan's community, besides Pakistan? It's a big community and a lot of students are there. Rather than training under your own name, you can just empower the people
I know, yeah.
that wanted to work as an open source for everybody.
Yeah.
How you think in that?
Well, I think open source, no need to basically advocate that for me, because it is important and it has really helped us and shaped up and make a lot of things affordable and accessible to a lot of people, which otherwise would not have been possible. But I was reading an article and I would like to share that crux out of that with you. So they actually said that there are two types of genres now at this moment. So one genre is those big brands and the big companies that are working with the big four type of the consulting companies as
Right.
well, whether it's for products and everything. So banks, telcos, insurance companies, working with the top-notch companies. Globally, I'm talking about. I'm not being country-specific here. So they work with the top established brands. Money is not a problem. They pay big checks for that and get the kind of the known established name.
Right.
Easier decision for any CISO as well. Nobody's going to make him accountable if you are working with the top and the thing. So they have the budgets to buy for that. So that is like one genre. Then there is another genre which is totally open source, where you are working with very small sector. Small sector, I mean, like you are maybe a startup or a infancy stage of the business, don't have big budgets, but you still want to basically do some sort of a security or development or something like that, and you totally rely on open source.
Yeah.
But then they said that there's a third genre which is becoming a very big genre, and companies should be focusing on that genre, which is somewhere in between them. So they are not that big, they are not that small. Because open source is good, but it has its own challenges as well. You cannot control the thing,
Exactly.
So you don't know what is coming with you. So what type of backdoors are there,
Yeah.
and then changing into that thing or integrating it with the other things. So it has its own challenges as well. So linking it with my previous discussion that we were doing, then that again creates a problem where maybe you can use some of the open source, but then create your own IPs,
Yeah.
making your own product, which you have more control on, and the companies can cater to that. So they are not relying totally on an open source, which they have not control. They are not working with the top-notch established brands, but in between market, and that you can call it an SMB market or whatever, but that market is really growing up. And for that market, you again need to basically have your own products and solving the problem. So, and then the other thing is what type of products to be developed. So I like to quote Steve Jobs here as well. So a product or any service should be created which is solving a problem. So that should be the first kind of a thing. So pick up a category, pick up a genre, and by virtue of this podcast, I would like to basically communicate this to all those people, entrepreneurs who are working on products, that this should be the first criteria, that don't follow the trend actually, which most of the companies make a mistake that ये भेड़ चाल चल रही है तो इसी चीज़ के अंदर हम भी बना लेते हैं या इसके बहुत मार्केट है शायद मार्केट मैच्योर हो चुकी है सारा कुछ है सो ऑलवेज ट्राई टू सी दैट इज देयर अ प्रॉब्लम इज दैट प्रॉब्लम अ बिग इनफ आर is a large number of people or companies affected by that problem, and then if you can try to solve a problem around that thing. So, and this is where now people are basically relying on SMEs as well. So a subject matter expert will only basically be able to determine this thing that, I see that this is a problem. This is a problem that I faced with me. This is a problem that I faced where I was working earlier, or I see with my colleagues. So, I would like to basically solve a problem here. So that is basically the connecting with that thing. But the short answer to what you asked is, so yes, I'm a big believer of open source. I think it did a lot of good things, and it has, as I said, opened a lot of doors to a lot of knowledge, and we need to have more testing here as well. So whether it's through open chapters, through spin chapters, through other such associations, we should be basically doing that thing. And even the companies and everything should be doing going ahead for that as well.
You mentioned that your company also empowering the individuals, like they joined your company and within 2 years, they become very mature people. And I know some of them as well. They are very great. How you think but your company cannot fulfill the whole challenge, right?
No, of course.
How you think do we have to create a training platforms or training centers for our people in cybersecurity specifically, not in the software development? Do you think that it should have to be done or not?
Yes, it has to be done. And there is incidentally another thing. So as I said, one thing is leave it to the market, and the market forces will determine itself, a typical capitalist approach.
Well.
And because I've seen that cybersecurity is improving, so we are in touch with a lot of facilities. We do a lot of hirings as well. So cybersecurity kind of, you can say it's a branch of computer science. So our resources also, so they are basically a CS graduates and backgrounds, and then it's a branch of the CS. So rather, a student has a choice that whether they want to go for the development, they want to go for the QA, or they want to go for security.
Right.
AI, we can add AI there as well. So these are the new branches that are coming up. But the base is, of course, the CS computer science degree. So I have seen this thing that the number of students opting for CS is increasing now.
Yeah.
It used to be very small, 10 years back maybe. But now more and more people.
It's a big number.
And so I think that, and that's a very positive sign, because I think that the Gen Z is getting more fascinated by this thing.
Yeah.
Because fascination, I've deliberately used this word, because fascination is the first thing that you have. You should be fascinated by something.
Exactly.
Only then, you can develop a passion for that thing. And security is something which you cannot learn by courses or by degrees.
Yeah.
It's perhaps true for every field, but for security, it's like super, important
passion,
by this thing. Passion.
Resilience.
Absolutely, Asnan.
Yeah,
so
I can understand.
if you have that thing in you for that thing, then you can do for that. Because it's like it's a typical thing that they say that in security, it's like finding a needle in the haystack.
Exactly.
So if you're just doing it by looking at the clock or something that I have to work for 2 hours or 3 hours and doing that thing, you can never do that. But if you're enjoying finding that needle in the haystack,
it means
only then you can basically
you have
do
instinct,
that. Yes.
right?
So I see that the new generation is getting more interested into this thing, thanks to the evolving technologies and the environments. Even, it's not a good example, but it is a true thing. Even, now the modern warfares are changing.
Yeah.
So cyber has become a part of the modern warfare as well. So by virtue of that, a lot of incidents that we see in the recent conflicts in any part of the globe, so you see cyber as an important part of that thing. It's more of I would say that cyber is weaponized as well on that thing. You look at any James Bond movie, you look at any Mission Impossible movie, so you see a lot of cyber things there as well. So I always joke about that thing, that now in any such type of a movie, one guy of the good side of the team would always be shown as a hacker or something.
Exactly, yes.
So what that creates is that creates a mindset actually, and then people become more interested into that thing. So I think one approach, as I said, was that the government should also be focusing on that thing. We should be having more training sessions and everything. And the other thing is, then organically growth will happen if people have an interest into that thing, if there are more jobs for that. So once the jobs increase, the prices. So of course, as I said, a typical business cycle
And
takes
there
its
is
own course.
also, 80,000 jobs deficit in the US market as well.
Yeah.
So it's a big number.
It is big number, and even if you look at some of the other data that I would like to share, that things that jobs of the future, so security and everything is in all the list there as well.
Exactly.
It's a growing field. It's not a declining field, and even with AI coming in, there's a big debate going on every time that would AI be taking over jobs of the software development? So started off with low code, no code,
Yeah.
and now sites claiming that they can develop a app for you or a website for you or a
Exactly.
product
All
for
the
you.
vibe stuff.
Everything they can do, and coding is not going to be important. So that is under basically scrutiny or under a threat, I would say. But security actually is not, because even if with the AIs and everything, the security, I think, is going to be increasing a lot. We had one big global catastrophe a few years back, COVID-19 kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So although it was a bad thing and a lot of businesses were affected by that thing, but that security actually increased after that, the importance of cybersecurity. So more and more people would maybe working from home, more and more reliance on cloud was required.
Exactly. Yes.
So office infrastructure, so if 10 people or 20 people or 100 people were working in one building in one office, so now they were scattered to different cities, different countries even at that time. But the data was still moving from one place to another, and the organization was still responsible for that thing. So sometimes the events like this actually trigger this thing, and more people would be relying on all those things. So cloud used to be a small thing, but cloud really, really evolved.
Exactly.
You look at the share prices.
Shadow IT is a big industry.
Exactly.
Right? Third party
Absolutely.
integrations are a lot. So the cloud is big
Yeah.
right now. So we can see all these things. But the Gen Z, they're not interested to doing the codings, and the core and the hardcore cybersecurity is to develop a malwares and name in Go, in Python, even in C++. These are the hard stuff, to command and control the world. How you think like these technologies, VAPT is not a necessary right now, because we can automating all these things.
Absolutely.
But the hardcore security, why the companies in Pakistan are not, focusing on these things or these sectors as well, specifically in the DFIR or the malware, because EDRs or the XDRs are just a monitoring systems. But the proactive systems are not there.
No.
So one of the proactive systems are the EASMs, external attack surface management platforms, because they are continuously testing your digital assets, your APIs, your domains, your subdomains, everything that belongs to your digital assets. So how you think we have to develop the proactive measures, and how you think like we have to work onto the core cybersecurity technologies?
Again, I would say it takes time, and it is things. So absolutely. And I remember maybe 5 years, even till, I'm not going 10 years back, till 5 years back, most of the assignments that we were working used to be a typical VAPT job, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing job. I think that is coming down now. So what we even in the company say that VAPT is a low-hanging fruit now. So companies are moving and elevating, at least the good ones. So red teaming came in, purple teaming came in, and as you said, so some of the sophisticated things coming in. And VAPT, because VAPT can be replaced, so you have a lot of tools which are doing automated scanning for you, and you can do this thing. Although we still always keep a different approach, so we just do not rely on tools. So we have a unique methodology at Catalyic, where of course we use tools as well, but we still, as what you said, we still do a lot of manual scripting as well.
Exactly.
We understand the case study, use cases basically for that, understand the scenario, and based on that scenario, so our approach is a mix of human intelligence plus, of course, the tool-based things there as well. But it still is for us also, it's a low-hanging fruit, and we are evolving out of this thing. And there are a lot of branches coming out of it actually as well. While we started working with the Gulf, in the Gulf region, so OT is
Exactly,
basically,
it's a big thing.
thing.
And we are unable to bring the physical tools here.
Even the physical, there are not many people there. So we are now actually starting a program where we are going to be training resources and developing them as an OT, because we, as a country, we had very few resources when it comes to OT. But OT, I think, is a very big thing. not only in the Gulf thing, so all the power plants, all the large-scale manufacturing companies with where IoTs are there, so OT is basically there. So it's just not IT audits. They have to have an OT thing. So
But
we are working on that.
we are
as well.
not allowed to bring or import the cybersecurity tools like Hack5, HackRF
Yes,
tools here.
yes.
How you think like we can ensure government, like they can even assign some sort of a license to you, like Catalytic company or a big companies, so you guys import that tools or create the labs here, so we can train and empower people. How you think?
Ideally speaking, I would agree with this thing, but keeping in mind the general mindset that we have here and the type of environment that we live in, so we have been suffering a lot because of all those negative things as well. I'm just not talking about the cyber threats at this moment, but the other threats or the other thing, whether it's a geopolitical and everything. So from Pakistan point of view, it's always going to be a problem, I think, till in the near foresee future, I see.
But
हमारा एक सिक्योरिटी का हमेशा से इशू रहा है जहाँ पे इसको ट्रस्ट और हमारा कंट्रोल जो हैं वो इन तरह की चीज़ों पे सो हमारी इन्फोर्समेंट ऑफ द लॉ हैज़ नेवर बीन आवर स्ट्रेंथ हियर सो और उसको पिलफरेज को रोकना और उस सारे चीज़ के ऊपर करना इवन विद सम लाइसेंस्ड अप्रोच और मॉनिटरिंग अप्रोच उसकी इन्फोर्समेंट और मॉनिटरिंग को करते रहना हैज़ ऑलवेज बीन ट्रेडिशनली स्पीकिंग अ क्वेश्चन मार्क हियर सो ऑल्दो एज आई सेड आई विश दैट हैपेंस बट ये एक हमारा चैलेंज रहेगा जिसका मैं अभी इमीडिएटली कोई हल नहीं देखता मे बी विद नेशनल सर्ट इज बीइंग एस्टैब्लिश्ड विद सम साइबर लॉज बीइंग नाउ डेवलप्ड एंड तो ये शायद आगे जाके आई कीप माई होप्स अलाइव कि ये चीज़ें इसके ऊपर बेहतर होंगी बट अभी so in a country where you know where they say that the gray economy is bigger than your white economy so expecting that everything comes under that channel जहाँ पे हमारे borders porous है जहाँ पे हमारी law enforcement की वो desired उसके ऊपर नहीं है वहाँ पे it's always going to be a challenge so because I understand the government's point of view as well because if they do allow it and then उसका misuse जब होना शुरू होता है तो हमारे जो cyber attacks जो यहाँ पे हो सकते हैं we just see a tremendous amount of increase into those things as well so वो जो कहते हैं ना कि these types as I said the cyber is weaponized as well so when anything is weaponized so उसके अंदर वो awareness वो controls बहुत ज़रूरी है so if I give you a gun but it doesn't has a safety lock or if you don't know how to use it या you are not the right person to carry a gun तो मैंने अपने लिए खतरा बढ़ा दिया है उसके ऊपर so
but it's a threat I think like sorry to say but it's a threat for the privileged people that they are not allowing us because ultimately it will empower because in the Europe the crime rate is much more than right the green economy also is increased but they allowed all these tools all these things
but as I said but it depends I would say so I can have a view on that but again yeah ultimately government के ऊपर है I don't see that a lot of things would be allowed immediately kind of a thing
right
but maybe down the lane slowly gradually जो है वो इसके ऊपर हो जाए and then a lot of things are allowed at a lot of levels as I said that I'm privy to some information by working with some defense sector things so acquisition and the tools and the products
are there in NCCS
yeah so वहाँ पे हमारे पास हैं भी at the governmental level I would say private sector के पास शायद अभी उस तरीके से हमारे पास ऑप्शन नहीं है कि हम वो डायरेक्टली इंपोर्ट कर लें so यहाँ पे तो अभी आपको जो हम इवन वो रबर डकी एंड इस टाइप के फ्लिपर जो हैं वो इस टाइप की चीज़ों को भी आप अगर ला रहे हो तो आपको वो इमिग्रेशन और कस्टम्स के ऊपर रोके जा सकते हैं विच आर अवेलेबल एट अमेजोन अदरवाइज आप जाके ऑनलाइन उसके ऊपर जो है वो कहीं से भी ले सकते हैं इसके अंदर
right fast forward we would like to know about the how you think the global warfares are happening right how we should have to empower our people what's the methodology that you will choose rather than the trainings or the awareness sessions how you think like all of the corporates should have to enforce cybersecurity to their companies. Like they should have to wait for the breach or either they should have to hire the hackers immediately. What do you think?
Again, in an ideal world, तो मैं कहूँगा कि they should hire it immediately and proactive approach होनी चाहिए rather than a reactive approach कि जहाँ पे इसके ऊपर करें. But being in the business long enough and understanding the human psychology, generally this is not how it works. So मैंने आपको स्टार्ट में एक बात दो गए थे कि सिक्योरिटी के बिजनेस में दो वर्ड्स आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फेयर एंड बेसिकली जो है वो ट्रस्ट उसके ऊपर है सो फेयर सिक्योरिटी में जो जिसमें जाते हैं इट्स यू हैव टू हैव अ फेयर एंड फेयर आपका तब आता है कि व्हेन इट हैपेंस इन अ क्लोज सर्कल आई हैव सीन दिस थिंग changing that and you would relate that to me 10 years back as I said when we started this thing so there was not a single case study that we could easily find in Pakistan with the proper data with the proper investigation there now these things have changed a lot uh, which is not a good thing, but every now and then you hear something that X data was leaked, Y data was leaked, this site was compromised,
Yeah.
a lot of Pakistani data coming on the dark web. So whether it's related to some high-end government officials' data available on the dark web or everything. So a lot of things are happening. Again, we know that ransomware attacks have been happening in Pakistan. We know that sites have been compromised, data has been compromised. So that is now basically creating a phase. So the good thing is that I see that some realization is coming. So there were not many security departments or security people in companies here, but now those things are changing, at least at the top level, and generally it starts like it's a trickle down kind of an effect. So the banks and all those companies, telcos, some critical industries, infrastructures, power plants. So they are now at least hiring CISOs there, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So at least a first step. I would not
Like
say that
CIO
that's
converted into CISO.
yeah. Because they think that that's the first step. At least find a person that if something happens, you have a person to blame on. Actually, that you did this thing. Why were you not able to stop this thing?
Rather than blaming the IT guy, you can blame the CISO.
Yeah. The other is the one of the other most affecting myth, the problem that I see is that understanding and realizing that cybersecurity is not a plug and play thing. So the other myth that we have basically is that people think that cybersecurity is a plug and play thing, which they think that like as an antivirus they install something and then it can be done. So cybersecurity is not a plug and play thing. It's a process. It's a mindset. It of course involves the people, process, technology, infrastructure, tools. So it's a mixture and combination of a lot of things. So that's a problem that the mindset thing. And then the other problem that I see is that many companies do not think security as a special department. They consider security as a sub-department of IT department. So
Yes.
security gets its budget from the budget that IT has got.
Right.
So rather than, so that just shows a mindset and a kind of a priority that you are giving to that.
Yeah.
So till the time, as I said, that security becomes a standalone department, it has its own feet to stand on, and it's not just relying on the clutches of the overall IT budget. So that would really help in that thing. So that's a problem basically, which basically creates this thing. So I think it will take time. Okay, वहाँ पे जाके जब इसको security becomes more important.
Right. Fast forward, and just to be concise, you have spent a lot of years in the compliances and the standards, right? How you think like the standards like ISO, NCA, ECC, SAMA, which of the frameworks that are much more important for the Pakistani industries, right? That you think like we can apply here, rather than national cert is also the composed form of all these frameworks.
Yeah.
But how you think like which of the framework is much more important for the initial startups or the corporates?
Right. So I'll actually, before answering this question, I'd actually like to share my what I have experienced. So since we are uniquely positioned, so we are in Pakistan, we're in Gulf, and we're in US.
Yes, yeah.
So we get to see three flavors actually. So I often say that, so we are a band that is performing at three different stages to three different types of audiences. And I see a stark differences in all these three cultures and countries and approaches as well. So Pakistan has been kind of a raw market, where the growths and everything generally happen either as a mushroom growth or as a trend following approach, that any standard or any approach becomes popular and then we start adopting it as well.
Right.
But so, from the regulation point of view, Saudi Arab market, while we are working, it's a very highly regulated market.
Yeah.
So you cannot do anything unless and until you have this is license. So even the market size was smaller than Pakistan, but you will realize that how many local regulations or the standards or the models that they have created. We've talked about PDPL, NDMA,
exactly.
or those huge lists coming up. So it's a very regulated market. And USA also is a very unique market in a way that it's more of a structured market.
Yeah.
So the business mindset and the prevailing is very there. So we try to get the best of all those things there as well. So Pakistan, if you were asking specifically about this thing, so I think our regulatory is not that strictly enforced.
Yeah.
So let's look at sector by sector. So banking being the most critical sector, your and my money is being stored in the bank. So that banks are of course the financial nerve of any system. So in banks, of course, State Bank had some regulations. They have their own circulars. They keep on changing this thing. and they made the banks follow and increase their security step by step into layer as well. So we have worked with almost 16 banks in Pakistan, so I know the entire banking sector here. We have the privilege to working with State Bank as well on the SWIFT-related security standards and some other security standards as well. So State Bank, let's say, is one of the, as a regulator, so they enforce something. I would say, how good, bad this thing is? Yes, it's a positive start. Is it ideal? No. Not much. Is the thing.
Right.
So whether it's payment card industry standard, so all the banks use payment card
They don't
industry. So how many companies are PCI certified? How many banks are PCI certified? Without going into the numbers, not all of them are.
But there are CISOs as well.
There are CISOs as well. So every bank, I think, now has a CISO. Every bank now has a risk department. They do some sort of a risk assessment, which includes security. Every bank is using some sorts of licenses for multiple product ranges as well. But from the enforcement point of view, still much to desire. And I'm talking about the highest regulated department at this moment. Next, let's move on to telcos now. So we have PTA, which is a regulator, which has to basically regulate all the telcos in Pakistan. Of course, it's not regulated just related to security, but quality, compliance, everything there. Is it mandatory for all the telcos to have what type of security? I don't know. Right now, there is no such requirement enforced accordingly to that thing. Then recently, I was talking to a recent, what is department for power plants testing, OGRA.
Yeah. Breached as well recently.
So yeah, and I think that in the current scenario or in the coming few years, so this is going to be one of the most important sector.
Exactly.
And it's going to be, it's globally, it's one of the favorite targets for hackers actually around the thing, to sabotage a country, whether
for the
it's
nations
exactly,
as well.
exactly. And if you do,
We did that as well.
But so maybe we're not, but it is, as from the security point of view, it has to be very, very critical sector.
Yeah.
But are we ready? So I would say, unfortunately, again, without naming, most of the power plants in Pakistan are a sitting duck right now. It's just a matter of when they get attacked. So will they be safe without this thing? It would be a miracle if they get safe.
They have tawakkal.
So but if you believe only in that, so and then you still think so, even for tawakkul also they say you first tie your horses and then believe in that.
Exactly.
So just doing one part of it was not going to solve the problem.
Exactly.
But they are not doing it. That's fine. But so you were talking about the regulator. So regulator is also not able to enforce that part there, which it should. So I think in Pakistan, the regulator needs to be more proactive. They need to be given more authority. Now some regulations are coming up, so the data privacy thing, the PICA Act and everything. So they should be used effectively at the corporate level to basically make sure that our readiness state for security gets a bit higher from where it is. Then you asked that which standards is important. So it depends which industry you are in. So now, because even in the security, there are industry-specific standards as well. Generally speaking, it's say ISO 27000 is the base standard. At least it gives you a basic infrastructure of setting up the security. If you're working with the more complicated thing, you see GDPR's like standard, even in ISO 27701, which is for the personally identifiable information thing has come in there. So with the cloud security, this thing. So cloud security we didn't talk about, but cloud security, I think from the last 4 or 5 years is a big gap. We had the opportunity of working with some FedRAMP client. So FedRAMP is a US regulation only for the cloud thing, and especially so basically it's a one model for which can be accepted by all the governments. So if those companies that are working, and the US basically defense sector, so if they have to use a cloud service, that cloud service has to be FedRAMP approved. Only then they can use it.
Done.
Because that's like one of the regulation step that they have taken to protect their asset.
Right.
So as I said, it depends which type of industry you are, but not having any kind of a security standard or security implementation is definitely a disaster to recipe.
We would like to know how you think the entrepreneurship of the cybersecurity is much more difficult than the entrepreneurship in software development or SEO or in digital marketing. How you think that?
Basic answer to that is about the market size. So software development has already been an established sector in an industry, and if you look at the total volumes of that industry globally, so it is definitely much bigger as compared to security at this stage. And it will perhaps remain like this thing. So security is, as we said, that one of the subset of the software development.
Yeah.
So entrepreneurship in that thing is that your market size is a bit reduced. So you have to basically work on that thing. So which means that if your market size is a little smaller than the other thing, then you need to be very good in that thing actually as well. So there are pros and cons to that. So the negative side, as I said, is the market size is a bit smaller. Many of the entrepreneurs in Pakistan or companies in the software, they start from the freelancing site like
Yeah,
Upwork
exactly.
and everything. If you look at the number of jobs posted for software development versus the number of jobs posted for security, so you'll see a huge difference there. So that means you have less opportunities to bid for. So that is the challenge for that.
And
There is a positive side to that as well, that there are not many companies catering to that as well.
Exactly.
So your competition is also going to
Low.
be a little smaller. So relatively smaller than development as well. So the challenge is, as I said, the market size is smaller. Having good resources with you available is less, because software development has been a little relatively more established division and field or the segment. So cybersecurity and everything, the field is a little less. You may be an expert in one area, but perhaps the security nowadays is becoming more challenging. And one company or one project even, it's not just a VAPT job, let's say.
Yeah.
So you have to have maybe a red teaming experience into that thing as well. Maybe you have been customized with PAM solutions as well. So basically the challenge is that you have to have good SME expertise, subject matter expertise as well, and then basically bid for that.
how you won the trust of the US and the Saudi companies, because it's big challenge for us as a Pakistani entrepreneurs or a companies to win their trust and
Yeah.
then sell the services.
Yes, it was. So different approaches we followed. In Saudi Arabia, although we had an opportunity of going solo and basically doing everything ourselves, but after doing a decision analysis resolution and looking at all the possible pros and cons of that thing. So in Saudi, we have established an entity called Catalytic Group, in which basically we have used a local partner as well. So that partner, they're a very old company, about 70 years old company, third generation into the business now. So we have partnered with them in this thing. So basically just to cover that initial trust thing and understanding the local culture there as well. So in Saudi, we went for this approach. In the US, it's a different approach. We have gone there as a solo company. We have incorporated Catalyic LLC there. And but we have actually been doing a lot of work in US. It's just that we actually went for the establishment a few years back. Other than that, we were doing a lot of work there. So we were blessed in that thing. So we had those trust issues and everything, but now we have a 20 years of experience. So we have some of the customers working with us in the US for the last 10, 12 years, and we have grown with them. So those accounts, so we started doing one work with them, but just so quality of work and word of mouth kind of a thing. So we have established into that part as well. We still are trying. We also try to do a lot of other things as well. Try to give back to the community. So we make sure that we are posting our achievements or lessons learned kind of a thing on different forums as well. Whether it's LinkedIn, whether doing this podcast and stuff like that with you as well. So we do those things as well, which basically kind of connects us with the industry there as well. So it is a challenge, I would not deny that. But since we are into the business for almost 2 decades now, and so after these times when you are there in the business for that time, so things start becoming easier for you. We have a lot of case studies. We have done a lot of projects in different areas. So we are not learning on the client's expense. We already have a team. We already have the experience of working in that area, whether it's consulting or whether it's for security. So we have that much of experience that where we convince the customer in this thing. As a basic entrepreneur principles, or we also say that always go with the transparent approach. Try not to oversell, try rather to over-deliver. This is also again something that we believe in. We only commit and we only to those types of projects which we are very sure that we can deliver. If there is a possibility that it's, I say, although it's a hard decision, but sometimes it's better to say no to a business rather than say yes and then getting unable to deliver that thing.
Yeah.
So we believe in that thing. So these are actually the small steps that help the companies and customers ultimately to win trust. And most importantly, especially predominantly, we are a service sector company. So in service sector, the word of mouth and the way that you do business is very important.
Right.
Because that travels, the reputation travels. And honestly speaking, after 20 years as an entrepreneur, I would say the biggest asset that I have and the biggest asset that we want to protect is our reputation nowadays. So whatever work we have done, so we have a kind of a legacy to protect. We want to increase it, we want to enhance it, but definitely not to tarnish it.
Right. Thank you so much, Farhan Saab, for having a great podcast. Right now, we have an end-up session that is a rapid-fire questions,
Okay.
where I will just ask 10 questions and then you will respond in a rapid way, right?
Okay, I'll
So
try
my
to.
first question is, one cybersecurity myth you wish people would stop believing,
It's a plug and play solution.
right? ISO or NIST, which framework is harder to implement correctly?
NIST.
The most common mistake companies make during audits.
Preparing too hard for the audit, preparing only for the audit, and preparing, but like making documents for the sake of audit.
Right. One compliance requirement you think is outdated now.
One compliance requirement is outdated. A system of a yearly based audit.
Right. Your favorite part of running a multiple companies, strategy or execution?
Strategy.
If you had to choose to only one, offensive security or defensive security?
Personally speaking, as a human being, offensive.
Exactly. One tool you believe where every company should deploy or no excuses?
A threat intel system.
Right. Startup founder mindset or a consultant mindset? Which defines you? One more.
Startup.
Biggest red flag you notice when entering a client's environment?
Red flag. It depends. There are a lot of actually. It depends on company to company. Hard to pinpoint one. It depends, but it depends again, I would say. Not taking security clearly.
Security misconfiguration, we
Yeah,
can say
yeah,
like
yeah.
that should be the red
Yeah.
flag. One piece of advice that you give to someone entering cybersecurity today?
Be ready for a long haul. It's a very exciting, very interesting journey. Like any other business, be there, consistency, a lot of hard work, and a lot of learning. Just do not. So it's not going to be a rapid fire answer, but a very important thing. So I always
Yeah.
say that running a company or making a strategy is exactly like playing chess.
Yeah.
No matter how good a player you are, if you're just focusing on your own move without understanding the move of the competitor, you would not be able to win the game. So in the business also, if you're just focusing on your own moves without understanding the environment, the ecosystem, the latest developments happening, you will not make it, you will not cross the line. So you have to be a very vigilant that part. So just, of course, hard work and everything is very important. You have to give a lot of time into that part as well. But just be very aware of what is happening and what is going to happen. Of course, anybody who can predict future, they can control anything. So we can't predict future, but we can analyze this thing. So if you are analyzing this thing, the world is changing. We like it or not like it with the AI coming in.
Yeah.
But if you are developing something which is not linked up with that thing, then you are already developing an outdated thing. So
Yeah.
always try to be. This has been my kind of a mantra or my approach in this thing is that always try to be working on those things which are going to be there. So ask your question, what is going to be there maybe 5 years down the lane. And then
Well.
you should be working on that. If that thing is required today, it may not be required after 5 years.
Right. Well, thank you so much for Hansa for having a great discussion with us. And thank you so much, audience, for watching us also and supporting the AQSEC as well, where we have envisioned to empower the people of Pakistan as well as the national and the international security. We are covering the abstract people mindsets behind the scenes who are working into cybersecurity since like 2015. And we are trying to cover one of the most important topics here in our sessions, right? So we would like to know your best wishes for us, for Hansa, because cybersecurity trainings and consultation is one of the challenging part for us, and we are acting right now as a bridge for the corporates as well as for the students. That's my vision, to incorporate AQSEC in that way, so it acts like a bridge between the corporates and the students. So we would like to know your wish about us.
Firstly, this area that you are trying to do is a very, very important thing. This is how generally most of the innovation has happened.
Thank you so much.
So the academia and the industry, whenever they shake hand and whenever they have a bridge or a connection in between, then only good things happen. So I think the area that you're working on is a very noble thing. It's very close to my heart, and I genuinely very much believe in it.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're facing a lot of challenges. You will
Yeah.
face a lot of challenges as well. But the area that you have picked up is a very noble one, and it is a good thing. So I can wish you all the best in that thing. You can count me in as an advocate or as a
Yeah, of
supporter of
course.
this cause. And
You are the
anything that
mentor, yeah.
we can do, we will always be welcome to do.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Goodbye.
Good luck. Thank you.